Today on The Breakdown, we're going to dig into some new information revealing how the cards have been stacked against Donald Trump in his upcoming Washington, D.C. and Georgia cases. Hello, I'm Mike Huckabee with your September 13th edition of The Breakdown. We're nearly at 1 million subscribers. Absolutely nothing will happen when we get there, but it is a nice round number, so if you get to the end of the video and you find it informative, you really should subscribe and leave a like. Before we get into the main story today, a couple of updates on stories that you may already be familiar with. First, over the weekend, New Mexico Governor Michelle Lujan Grisham did a test run of the liberal idea of branding shootings as a health emergency, and she attempted to suspend the Second Amendment rights of law-abiding citizens. In this case, she responded to a rise in violence in Albuquerque with a 30-day order suspending the rights of people with concealed carry permits.
No person other than a law enforcement officer or licensed security officer shall possess a firearm, either openly or concealed, within cities or counties, averaging 1,000 or more violent crimes per 100,000, and more than 90 firearm-related emergency department visits.
Fortunately, it didn't take long for her to face a slew of legal challenges. By Monday, the Albuquerque DA was already refusing to enforce the order. The legislature is threatening to impeach Grisham, and she's digging in her heels and refusing to back down. Already 4 lawsuits have been filed seeking immediate injunctive relief to block the order. Astoundingly, even famous gun grabbers Ted Lieu and David Hogg tweeted that while they support gun safety, there's just no such thing as a public health emergency exception to the U.S. Constitution. I wonder if they're trying to kill off defenders of the Second Amendment rights by making all of us die of shock. In other shocking news, the Biden's Department of Justice actually dropped a case against someone who had a Kevin Bacon-level connection to Donald Trump. This is interesting. 5 years ago, they charged former Trump National Security Advisor Michael Flynn's former business partner, Bijan Rafiekan, with failing to register as a foreign agent for Turkey. Now, before everything done by anyone who's ever met Trump became a felony, that offense used to be handled with maybe at best a warning phone call. But in 2019, they decided to get a jury conviction instead. Fortunately, the judge tossed it out for lack of evidence. Initially, Biden's DOJ refused to accept their loss, and they kept appealing, wasting years of time and a ton of your money for both the accused and the taxpayers. Eventually, they just gave up, saying it was no longer in the public interest to pursue the case. Well, now on to our main story for the day. Monday, attorneys for President Trump filed a motion asking Judge Tanya Chutkan, the D.C. judge who is hearing his case about interference in the 2020 election, to recuse herself. Before being assigned Trump's case, Judge Chutkan, an Obama appointee, is on record strongly implying that Trump needed to be behind bars. It was during the sentencing of January 6 defendant Christine Priola that she said that people at the Capitol that day were out there due to blind loyalty to one person who, by the way, remains free to this day. Trump's attorneys say this statement alone is inherently disqualifying. If she fails to recuse herself and is allowed to continue presiding over the case, we really are just going through the motions of justice. As their motion states, quote, although Judge Chutkan may be genuinely intending to give President Trump a fair trial and may believe that she can do so, her public statements unavoidably taint these proceedings regardless of the outcome. End of quote. Trump's lawyers argued that the meaning of this is inescapable. President Trump is free, but he shouldn't be. It's not just words, but it's actions. Chutkan has already done one thing that suggests she's trying to damage President Trump's ability to run for the GOP nomination in 2024. She set the trial date in his case for March 4th of next year. The Super Tuesday primaries are March 5th. Now let's go from D.C. to Fulton County, Georgia, and Atlanta, and see how the deck has certainly been stacked against President Trump there. Attorney and election law expert Cleta Mitchell told legal analyst Margot Cleveland at The Federalist that being questioned for hours by the Fulton County grand jury was a surreal experience. Mitchell was called to testify because she had represented Trump in his challenge to the 2020 election in Georgia. As you know, the concept of attorney-client privilege, well, at least for President Trump, has been tossed right out the window. Executive privilege as well. Mitchell went on to say, I knew coming out of there that the whole thing was a loose cannon, that they were going to recommend indicting basically all the Trump allies. It was a completely political situation, nothing to do with the law, nothing. Do you remember Emily Kors? She's the scary jury foreperson who made the mistake of doing a few interviews while the grand jury was still hearing testimony. Watch.
Did you personally want to hear from the former president?
I wanted to hear from the former president, but honestly, I kind of wanted to subpoena the former president because I got to swear everybody in. And so I thought it'd be really cool to get 60 seconds with President Trump of me looking at him and being like, do you solemnly swear? And me getting to swear him in. I kind of just thought that would be an awesome moment.
Her overzealousness was apparently no act. Mitchell told Margot Cleveland that some notes that she herself had carried into the grand jury room had been taken by Kors and completely misread. Kors read one of her notes and stated, you say here that you're asking the court to award the electors to Donald Trump. Since the notes said nothing of the sort, Mitchell responded, where do you read that? Kors just handed it back. The note that Kors misinterpreted simply explained that nowhere in the memorandum of law does it say that the election should be awarded to Trump. His lawyers argued that there is precedent under Georgia law for the court to vacate the results and order a new election if they were able to establish that the evidence proved there were more illegal votes cast in violation of state law, but counted and included in the certified total, and if they were more than the margin of difference between the two candidates. The remedy is a new election. Alternative, they had to argue that the state legislature had plenary power under the U.S. Constitution to meet, then determine the electors, and Mitchell explained all that to Kors. In other words, this was just in case the evidence showed the need for it. What Mitchell had described in writing was not illegal. But Kors is such a zealot, she automatically jumped to the worst possible interpretation, something that Mitchell hadn't even said. The grand jury recommended indicting Mitchell on a variety of charges relating to the phone call in which Trump allegedly told Secretary of State Raffensperger to find a specific number of votes. They did this in spite of the fact that they never asked her even one question about the phone call. What Fulton County prosecutors asked her about, she said, was what they saw as deficiencies in the election challenge filed by Trump. It seems reasonable to conclude that what Democrats are trying to do is criminalize election challenges brought by Republicans. If this DA in Georgia can get away with it, it's bound to start happening all over the country, with Democrat-controlled courts picking the winners. Well, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, I hope you'll subscribe to the channel below. Be sure to leave a like and share your thoughts in the comments section. Also, if you want more of my news analysis and commentary, I hope you'll sign up for my newsletter at MikeHuckabee.com. It's free and sent to your email inbox in the morning and in the afternoon. That's going to do it for this edition of The Breakdown. I'm Mike Huckabee.